England squad for Six Nations 2020. This is the latest one out. I'm still catching up with some of the other squads, so those videos will be out in the coming days. But Eddie Jones has named his squad. It's a little bit of a clear out, I guess, but a fair few guys are unavailable due to injury. The most notable probably being Billy Vunipola, who broke his arm again just the other day. That guy's luck. Whether you like him or don't like him, whether you're a Saracens fan or not a fan, you got to feel sorry for that guy, man. Like, anyone whose career is so interrupted by injuries, you kind of got to feel for them. But I'll go through the squad, talk a little bit about the fixtures, some guys who have been omitted, some guys who have been selected, and as always, you guys can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So perhaps a little bit of beefing up at scrum time. Joe Marler, Alice Genge, Mako Vunipola, Harry Williams, Kyle Sinclair, and Will Stewart are your props. Will Stewart's uncapped. I don't know that much about him, but from what I have read, he is a pretty well-renowned scrummager. So that could be Eddie Jones directly addressing some of the issues that they faced in the World Cup final. Harry Williams didn't make the World Cup squad either, and he is also known for his fondness of a good scrum. Dan Cole, he didn't make it. So that's kind of not a surprise, but he was thrown into the final a fair bit earlier than expected. Hookers, you got Cowan Dickey, George, and Tom Dunn. Tom Dunn also is another uncapped Bath man, so we'll see if he gets much in the way of minutes. George and Cowan Dickey, that's a pretty good 1 and 2 combo between those two guys. So I think overall you'd have to be pretty satisfied with some of the depth that is in there among the England forwards, and there's a mixture of like very experienced guys, like Vunipola, like Marler, like George, and then some of the guys who are less than 20 caps. Williams is on 18 caps. Stewart and Dunn are both uncapped. So solid there. Second row: Itoje, Launchbury, Laws, Cruz, Ewells, and Alex Moon. So it's interesting that you've got a few guys in that second row who can drop back into the back row if needs be. And looking at that, you'd have to say England is pretty stacked in the second row. Like you could pick Launchbury and Itoje, you could pick Cruz and Laws. Like that's a good first choice, second choice. Like that's better than most countries have in terms of depth at lock. Very, very class. Alex Moon is an interesting one because again, I'm sure I've seen him play. I don't know that much about him. You guys will have to give me some insight into him. But at 2 meters, 0.07, that's some tall timber. So, like, Itoje is kind of that guy who flirts between second row, back row in terms of his height. Like, 207, like, Itoje is like 195. Sorry if you're not doing the metric thing, but yeah. Like 195 is like what, 6'4", 6'5"? Like 2.07 is proper tall timber. So it's always nice to have a lock who is, well over 2 meters because they can just add so much more, especially at line-out time, but also at more time, good for reaching over, disrupting, and whatnot. So locks, you'd have to be pretty happy. Loosies is an interesting one. I've already mentioned no Billy V. Ben Earl, Lewis Ludlam, Tom Curry, Sam Underhill, and Ted Hill. Ted Hill, I don't know when it was the last time I watched a Worcester game. I have watched, I think, at least one this season. But again, I think he was in the news a wee while ago for putting in a big tackle. But yeah, I'm not that familiar with him. Underhill, of course, we all know the combo that he and Curry had at the World Cup. Ludlam's good from what I've seen of him too. Ben Earl, I think a cap for him is coming at some point. He may be the beneficiary of Vunipola not being there. But yeah, it is an interesting one. and I've seen a fair few comments about it, that there's not really like an out-and-out 8 replacement for Billy Vunipola. There's, like, I've been watching a fair bit of Champions Cup, so Simmons at Exeter looks pretty bloody good. He hasn't got a look in, and also Dombrandt from Harlequins. Maybe even more so. Like, he was, I think, man of the match in a losing effort in the last game I watched of his. The guy is dynamite with the ball. So, like, if you're looking for a guy to have that effect that Vunipola has in terms of getting off the back of the scrum and putting on some meters, I would have thought Dombrandt is a pretty good substitute. But I suppose if somebody else gets injured, then he can't be too far away. So there's other guys as well, but I think Mark Wilson, they said, has only just gotten back fit, so probably wasn't really suitable for selection. So yeah, that's your forwards. In terms of the backs, Ben Youngs and Willie Hines are your 9s, and I think that will leave people feeling a bit flat. Like, I did make the mistake of checking Twitter, and there was a fair bit of people not that happy about those picks, but nobody really out and out saying this is the guy that it should be. There was a lot of, oh God, not those two guys again, but very little of how did this guy miss out. So yeah, the 9 question going forward, because neither Youngs or Hines is a spring chicken, will be an interesting one for Eddie to kind of work out. They do have Alex Mitchell there as kind of, him and Josh Hodge are their apprentice players who are going to train with the squad but not get any game time. So maybe that's kind of what they're doing in that regard. But in terms of playing time, it's just going to be Youngs and Hines. The 10 jersey is another, I guess, interesting one. You got Jacob Umanga, played for my team here in Auckland for at least a season. I'm talking Mitre 10 Cup rather than Super Rugby. George Ford and Owen Farrell. Umanga is probably the most interesting selection there. He's your uncapped guy. I don't follow English rugby enough to comment as much as some of you guys, but I would have thought Marcus Smith or Simmons from Exeter. Again, both the Simmons brothers couldn't get a look in, so yeah, go give me some insights there. I mean, I haven't seen much of Wasps this season, but I've heard good things about Umanga, so maybe he's not going to get many minutes, and this is just Eddie kind of testing the water to see how he goes. Maybe he wants to cap him because I think he's still eligible for New Zealand and Samoa. So get him a cap and then see how we go. You never know. The All Blacks have done that before. Cap a player and then never sees the light of day again. Other players, you got your midfielders and outside backs. Tuilangi, Joseph, Devoto. Dingwall is another one of your uncapped players. Daly, Watson, Johnny May, Thorley is another one of your uncapped guys, and also Furbank, another uncapped player. So I think it's 8 guys who are uncapped. You've got guys like Ted Hill and Ollie Devoto who've only got 1 cap each. So it's kind of a bit of a fresh breath into that England squad. There's a fair bit of kind of young blood there. Like Furbank's 23, Dingwall is 20, Moon is 23. So there's a fair bit of future planning in the squad alongside some proper experience. Thorley is a very exciting pick. I'm keen to see him get some game time. I don't know how much game time he will get. Also, it'd be nice to see Furbank get a crack at fullback. Hopefully, the midfield will be an interesting one to see. You got to think it's going to be Tuilangi, Joseph, and other. So who else they put in there? Or I mean, God knows, he could go Farrell in the midfield again. So that's one for Eddie Jones to sort out. So yeah, some of the guys who missed out through injury, like I said, Billy Vunipola broke his arm. Knowles having ankle surgery, so he wasn't able to be selected. Pierce Francis has still got concussion. Henry Slade's still not good. Thokana Singer's still not available. Like I said, Mark Wilson's only just back from injury. But guys who seem to have just been out and out dropped from the World Cup squad, McConaughey, Spencer, who was only ever a late call-up anyway. Singleton, again, who was kind of the third man, and Cole, who I did mention earlier. Cipriani is injured, not that he was ever likely to get a look in. Nathan Hughes didn't get picked. Don Brandt didn't get picked. Ben Curry, who one of the commentators mentioned that you should play one Curry brother at halftime for the other one and see if anyone notices, so you get an extra substitute, which was mildly funny, I thought. Anyway, so that's the England squad. Like I said, I think the main guy from the games that I've seen, and remember, I've mainly only been watching the teams from England in the Champions Cup. I've watched a few Premiership games this season, but far too few to really give that much insightful comment. But Don Brandt, I would have thought with Billy Vunipola not playing, I would have thought he's your guy. So a bit disappointed there, but to combat that disappointment, the idea of seeing like Thorley play for England is very exciting. So I am pretty pumped to see how he goes, assuming he gets some game time. So I did have a quick count. I think it's correct of the teams who represent the England squad. So 7 from Saracens, 6 from Bath, 5 from Leicester and from Saints, 3 from Exeter, 2 from Quins, 2 from Gloucester, 2 from Wasps, 1 from Worcester, and 1 from Sale. So it's interesting that Exeter, if my count is correct, only has 3 players in the squad, despite, from what I've seen this year, kind of tearing it up. So, yeah, that's the England squad. Interesting. I should mention the schedule before I go. I think it's, if you're going to only have the 2 home games, this is a pretty good schedule to have, because you got France away, and they got Sean Edwards as their defence coach this year, so they are probably going to tighten up their act. But if you've got them first, that might be a chance to catch them before they are properly set under the new coach's ways, because they got a new coach as well. So maybe having them first, even though it's an away game, could be a banana skin, is a good chance to get a win. Scotland at Murrayfield is hard. That's very, very much a tough game, but there's plenty of motivation for England to go up there and get a win after last year. But like I said, that's going to be a very tough game. Then you got Ireland and Wales, but thankfully, if you're an England fan, you got them at home. So if you are going to have only the 2 home games, it's probably not too bad to have Ireland and Wales having to come to Twickenham, and then the final game is your supposed easy one, which is your away game to Italy. So, in theory, they can really switch things up for that last game. But even, can you imagine if they needed to get a bonus point win in that last game? Would he still change the whole squad, or would he stick with pretty much the same team? I don't know. But hopefully some of the younger guys get a chance to shine. It's not just the old hands. We'll see what injuries do. There's bound to be a couple. See which players are kind of the next guys to get called up. But yeah, from what I've seen of the squad, there's a fair bit to be excited about. Maybe a fair bit to be disappointed about. But it's his job to pick the team. He can't please everyone, and that's not the business Eddie's in. He's in the business of trying to win the Six Nations. So you guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. How do you think it's going to go? Guys you think were lucky to make it. Guys who you think were unlucky to miss out. Yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later. So guys, if you are looking to get your hands on some England Rugby gear, head over to England Rugby Store. There's a link in the description. Go through there. Grab yourself some England gear. Some of it seems to be on special. Pro jersey, classic jersey, long sleeve, short sleeve. So there's plenty of options. They've even still got a bit of Rugby World Cup gear. You may or may not want that given the way the final played out, but hey, you still finished higher than my All Blacks. So that's one thing not to complain about. Even got onesies for the bubbers. But yeah, if you want to head over, check out the link in the description, England Rugby Store. Use the code at the checkout, 2cents10, and you get an additional 10% off your order from them. So yeah, that's it. England Rugby Store, guys. Check it out, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.